Welcome to a world of terror and unease, where the boundaries between fact and fiction blur into one terrifying reality. Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown, as we delve into the true urban legends of those who have encountered the unimaginable. So fasten your seatbelts and hold tight, because you are about to discover firsthand the chilling truth behind the most bone-chilling urban legends that actually happened. But beware, as you may find yourself questioning whether these spine-tingling tales are truly real or just figment of our vivid imaginations. Are you ready to face the terrifying possibility that these scary cases may not be so far-fetched after all? Join us, we bring to life the stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about fear. As the clock strikes 5 in the morning, the city of Lyon is shrouded in darkness. The streets are eerily quiet, with only a few flickering streetlights to guide the way. Our protagonist, Natalie, is finishing her shift as a nurse, but little does she know that her journey home will be far from ordinary. As Natalie steps out into the deserted streets, she can feel a chill run down her spine. She quickly makes her way to her car, but even the safety of her vehicle cannot ease her growing sense of unease. The city seems to be holding its breath, waiting for something sinister to happen. As the young nurse drove home, a sense of unease settled in her stomach. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. And then she saw it, a car following her closely, its headlights glaring into her rear-view mirror. Her heart racing. She tried to speed up, but the car stayed right on her tail. And then, without warning, it swirled in front of her and hit her car with a deafening thud. The headlights illuminated her face, blinding her momentarily. Panicked, she tried to get a glimpse of the driver, but the figure was shrouded in darkness. The car continued to follow her, the blinding headlights flickering in a frantic manner. Realizing her phone had fallen under the seat, she desperately tried to retrieve it, but the car continued its pursuit, blocking her every move. Her mind raced with terrifying thoughts. Was this person going to hurt her? And then, she reached her driveway leading to her house. Her only hope is to run and lock herself in her house and call the police. But as she got out of the car, she heard a voice coming from her pursuer, commanding her to lock herself in the house and call the police. As she frantically fumbled with her keys, she heard her pursuer getting out of their car and approaching her, and then the chilling words that made her blood run cold.
"Lock yourself in and call the police fast!"
With trembling hands, she locked herself in the safety of her home and dialed 911. Looking out the window, she saw a tall figure with a butcher knife in hand, attacking the man who had been following her. Only later will she understand what really happened that day. The man in the car chasing was not trying to hurt her, but he did try to save her. He had seen a man sneaking into Natalie's car and was only trying to warn her. Unfortunately, he paid for it with his life. It is said that the murderer was a mentally ill man who had escaped but was never found. As the clock struck midnight, Frank and his friends settled into their rental apartment in Marseille, France. Little did they know, this night would be like no other. The eerie glow of the moon casted a shadow over the ancient building they were staying in. As they gathered around the dinner table, sharing laughter and reminiscing on old memories. As his friends drifted off to sleep, Frank lay awake in his bed, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, the squish of car brakes shattered the stillness of the night. As Frank cautiously peered out onto the balcony, he saw a black hill parked at the bottom of the building. The windows were tinted, but loud music blared from within. Then, something caught his eye. 5 young people were packed tightly into the earth, their faces twisted into menacing grins. The driver rolled down the window, revealing a grey, frightening face wearing a driver's cap. His cold dead eyes locked onto Frank's, and in a chilling voice, he uttered,
"There's one place left."
As Frank stood frozen with fear, the driver waited 1 minute. The engine of the earth still running, but Frank was paralyzed, unable to move from the safety of the balcony. As Frank tells his friends about the terrifying events of the previous night, they brush it off as just a bad dream. But Frank knows deep down that it was all too real. Despite the dismissive attitude, he remains convinced of what he saw. As they make their way downtown, Frank and his friends fail to notice the broken glass on the ground in front of the grocery store. He questions the shopkeeper about the incident, and the answer chills him to the bone. It was no mere accident, but a gruesome crash involving a hearse full of young people. 5 passengers all killed instantly. Without showing to his friends that this news shook him, and despite their lack of concern about it, he insists on going back to the apartment alone, desperate to escape the growling unease. As Frank arrived at the building, he called the elevator and waited for it to arrive. When it finally stopped at his floor, the door slowly opened to reveal a crowded elevator. But amidst the unfamiliar faces, one stood out. A man with a grey face and a driver's cap, fixating his gaze upon Frank. A chill went down his spine as the man's low, slow voice uttered the words.
"There's one place left."
Frank was paralyzed with fear, unable to move as the man's eyes bored into his soul. Suddenly, the doors closed in front of him, and the elevator descended. Few seconds after, the doors closes, he hears desperate screams echoed from within, followed by a loud thud from the floor below. Then a deafening crash was heard. Frank's heart raced as he rushed to the basement, only to find the elevator had malfunctioned and crashed, trapping its occupants inside. Panicked, Frank called for help as he tried to make sense of the horrifying scene. But as the firemen arrived and began removing the bodies one by one, it became clear that there were no survivors. Tears welled in Frank's eyes as he searched among the lifeless bodies, his stomach churning with fear. Frank looks cautiously among the corpses. He swallows deeply, looking for that person. He was so scared that it affected his stomach, but it was not there. He does not see anywhere the man with the grey face and the chauffeur's cap. The sun was settling behind the jagged peaks of the Alps, casting an eerie glow upon the landscape. The year was 2018 and we were deep in the heart of the mountains, far from civilization. François, a seasoned hiker, had come here seeking adventure and tranquility. So for half of the week, in the summer of 2018, François planned a big day of hiking, perhaps too big to estimate. But he always went on with his good enthusiasm, walking and walking. And the day went by so fast for him that he didn't notice the time. Who doesn't time goes by quickly when doing something they like to do? When he realizes that he's barely halfway through his hike and realizes that it is already late, the sun begins to slowly set on the horizon. A little worried, he picks up the pace, hoping to reach his car before sundown. As the darkness enveloped him, François quickened his pace, hoping to reach his car soon. But little did he know, the night had other plans for him. Lost and filled with terror, he stumbles through the dark landscape, unable to recognize his surroundings. Just as he began to give up hope, he stumbled upon an old log cabin, hidden in the shadows of the forest. Desperate for shelter, François knocked on the door, but no one answered. Hesitantly, he pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit by a flickering candle and he could see a bed in the corner of the room. But as soon as his head hit the pillow, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over him. The silence was eerie and the wooden walls seemed to be closing in on him. And then he noticed the pictures on the walls. Faces with twisted, sinister smiles stared back at him, their eyes following his every move. A chill went down his spine as he realized that these were not ordinary faces, but the faces of the dead. Unable to bear their haunting gazes, François shut his eyes and tried to fall asleep. But the friendly whispers of the forest and the weight of loneliness were too much to ignore. Just as he was about to lose all hope, he awoke the next morning, relieved to see that he was still in the cabin. But his relief quickly turned to terror as he opened his eyes and saw that the pictures on the walls were not pictures, but windows. Thanks for watching. If you have interesting topics to share about urban legends, I would be happy to prepare you a video about it. In all cases, see you next Friday for another video. Bye bye!